Welcome back. So in this video we are going to create what we call a Bastion host or a jump box. So to explain a Bastion host is just, let's say, a backdoor that you use to access your private resources or your resources in your private subnet. Okay, so more or less like you have your room, okay, and you have a different entrance that is not open to the public. That is basically what it means. Okay, there is an entrance, but it's not open to the public. It is only you that can go through and then come out of it, right? So that is the concept of a Bastion host. You can also call it a jump box, right? So to do that, let's first go into our console, and then I'll move to EC2. In our console, I'll go to instances, or I could have just clicked on launch instance from the first page anyway, and I'll launch instance from here. So the name is a Bastion host. We'll leave everything as it is. We'll use an Amazon Linux, the 2023 AMI, the architecture same. We'll stay within the free tier, and for key pair we'll use the VO key that is created there already. For security group, I'll create a new security group, but then I'll have to go back to edit the network settings and put in the VPC, our EC2 instance in the lab VPC, and then use the public subnet. And we'll now come back to create our security group. Yes, auto assign of IP address is also disabled. Great. So for the name, we'll name it Bastion SG. Okay. And I'll clear this, and I'll say allow SSH from my IP. And for the source type, it won't be anywhere but this time my IP. So it means that unless I am on this IP address, I won't be able to access the Bastion host or this EC2 instance. So I should be on this IP before I would be able to access the Bastion host, right? And every other thing remains the same. And I must also say that this might not be enough. There should, in proper practice, you should also, have or implement other security options to harden your instance or your Bastion host. Okay, so I'll launch. So while this is launching, I'll come to my architecture drawing and just demonstrate what we have so far. Okay, so currently let me create the security group. So I'll draw my security group and then name it Bastion SG, and also put in my EC2 instance and name it Bastion host. Great. I'll go back and view all instances. So it is still initializing. We'll wait for it to get 2 out of 2 checks, and we'll continue to the next task. So I'll pause the video here and wait. When it is done, we'll resume. Before that, there is also one thing to note, and it is important that we allocate an IPv4 address to our EC2 instance. You realize that while we're creating it, we didn't enable that option to auto assign an IP address to our EC2 instance, right? So we'll have to allocate what we call an elastic IP address to our EC2 instance. So I'll do that ASAP, and we'll get into the next task. So I'll scroll down to elastic IPs, click on allocate elastic IP address, and I'll select from AWS pool of IPv4 addresses and go ahead to allocate. So once the IP address is allocated, I'll go to actions and then associate elastic IP address. And yes, I'll select instance and then choose my Bastion host, which is currently running, and associate. So now let's go back to our instances and then check on the status. So I'll click on refresh, and yes, we now have 2 out of 2 checks. So next, I'll SSH into this Bastion host, but I'll experiment with 2 environments. First, I will use the instance connect on the AWS console, and I'll also try the terminal on my personal PC to see how both goes. Okay, so I'll just select and then choose connect and connect. And as you can see, we are in an endless loop. It will load, and at the end of the day, it wouldn't be able to establish the connection, because from the browser we are definitely on the wrong IP address, so we wouldn't be able to connect this. All right, so I'll close this and I will use my terminal on my computer to connect. So I'll open my terminal. Now, to successfully SSH into your EC2 instance on AWS, you will need an access key, right? So I've already downloaded this access key and it is in my downloads folder, so I'll change directory to my downloads folder, and currently I'm in my downloads folder, right? And I will now enter the command SSH and the key is, and I'll do EC2 user at, and I'll copy the public IPv4 address and paste it. Okay, so I should be able to log in into my EC2 or SSH into my EC2 instance, that is my Bastion host, and you can see I have successfully connected to my Bastion host. Okay, so I can do a who am I to see where I am, and then I can do pwd for my to see the parent working directory that I am in. Okay, so we have confirmed that we have been able to SSH into the Bastion host that we created. You remember instance connect didn't work, so it means that until I am on my network, right, and I have that IP address, I wouldn't be able to connect to my Bastion host, or I wouldn't be able to reach my EC2 instance. So I'll end this session here and I'll see you in another video.